she asked me for only one promise. Please, never look inside the room while I am weaving. I said yes. But one night I looked, and because of that, I lost her forever. Long ago, in a quiet village in Japan, there lived a poor young man. He had no family, he had little money, but he had a kind heart. One winter evening, as snow began to fall, he was walking home through the fields. The world was silent. The trees were white. The wind was cold. Then he heard a strange sound. It was the cry of a bird. He followed the sound and found a crane caught in a hunter's trap. Its white wings were stained with blood. Its body was shaking in the snow. The young man felt sorry for it. He carefully opened the trap and set the crane free. "Go," he whispered. "You should not die here." The crane looked at him for a moment. Then it spread its wings and disappeared into the snowy sky. The young man thought he would never see it again. But that night, someone knocked on his door. When he opened it, a young woman was standing outside. She was beautiful. Her skin was pale like snow. Her eyes were gentle. Her black hair fell over her shoulders. She looked tired and cold. "I have nowhere to go," she said softly. "May I stay here tonight?" The young man could not turn her away. He led her inside. He gave her food. He gave her a place to sleep. Days passed. The woman stayed with him. She was quiet, kind, and graceful. And slowly, the lonely house became warm. Before long, the two became husband and wife. They were poor, but they were happy. Then, one day, the woman said, "I can weave cloth for you. If you sell it, we will have enough money to live." The young man was surprised. "You can weave?" She smiled. "Yes, but you must promise me one thing." She looked into his eyes. "While I am weaving, you must never look inside the room." The young man nodded. "I promise." So the woman entered a small room and closed the door. For 3 days and 3 nights, she stayed inside. The sound of the loom continued without stopping. Clack, clack, clack. At last she came out. In her hands was a cloth unlike anything the young man had ever seen. It was soft. It was bright. It seemed to shine like moonlight on snow. He took it to the market. The people were amazed. They had never seen such beautiful cloth. A rich merchant bought it for a high price. For the first time, the young man and his wife had enough money. They ate well. They fixed their old house. They smiled more than before. But the woman looked tired. Her face was pale. Her body seemed thinner. The young man worried about her. "Please," he said, "you do not need to weave again." But she only smiled. "I'm fine." Soon, the money began to disappear. The young man was afraid of becoming poor again. So he asked her to weave one more cloth. The woman looked sad, but she nodded. "I will do it. But remember your promise." Again, she entered the room. Again, the door closed. Again, the loom began to sound. Clack, clack, clack. This time, the young man could not sleep. He heard the loom through the night. He thought of his wife inside the room. Why did she never let him see her weaving? Why did she become weaker each time? What secret was she hiding? The next night, his heart filled with fear and curiosity. He stood in front of the closed door. He told himself not to open it. He remembered his promise, but the sound of the loom continued. Clack, clack, clack. Slowly, he reached for the door. He opened it just a little, and he looked inside. There was no woman in the room. Instead, there was a crane, a white crane. It stood in front of the loom, pulling feathers from its own body, one by one. With each feather, it wove the shining cloth. Its wings were thin. Its body was covered in wounds. But still, it kept weaving. The young man could not breathe. Then the crane turned its head. Their eyes met. In that moment, he understood. The crane he had saved in the snow had become his wife. The crane lowered its head. Then, before his eyes, it changed back into the woman he loved. She was standing there, weak and pale. Tears filled her eyes. "You saw me," she said. The young man fell to his knees. "I'm sorry. I was worried about you. I did not mean to." But she shook her head. "The promise has been broken." Her voice was gentle. That made it hurt even more. "I came to repay your kindness," she said. "You saved my life. So I wanted to give you happiness." The young man reached for her hand. "Please don't go." But she stepped back. "I can no longer stay with you." The door opened. Cold night air entered the room. The woman looked at him one last time. Then her body changed again. White wings spread in the darkness. The crane rose into the sky. The young man ran outside. He called her name. But the crane flew higher and higher. Soon, she disappeared beyond the clouds. The house became silent again. The loom never sounded after that. Years passed. The young man grew old. Every spring and every winter, he looked up at the sky. Whenever he saw cranes flying far above him, he wondered. Was she among them? Did she remember him? Did she forgive him? But the sky never answered, and the only thing left in his heart was the promise he could never keep.